Hello, my name is Crystal Petry, and you are watching the third season of the Crystal Petry Podcast. If my guest, Kellina Powell, looks familiar to you, that's because she's been on here before. She was on the podcast last week talking about deafness and dating. She is back again to continue to educate us because she just has so much information to give. We couldn't fit it all in one podcast, Kellina. Today, she is talking about being deaf and entrepreneurship, something that never even entered my mind. So I'm so glad that you're on the podcast because you are, of course, educating, but also making us and making my platform more inclusive. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you so much. So where in the world are you, ma'am?
So right now I'm actually in Canada, Toronto.
Canada. So you are, I feel like I'm really, really international now because you are the second person that I've interviewed in Canada or from Canada, but my
Wow.
third international person.
Love that. Love that.
Yes. So I'm like real, real international now. But let's hop in it. What inspired you? So let me give my disclaimer before I give my before I get my first question out here. She has given me the consent to refer to her as deaf. I did ask her, so please do not come in my comments or my mentions. She has given me consent with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
So it really started when I was young and I wanted to make an impact in the world. So I had two stories. So the first story was from when I was working at a park, a big park. It's called Canada's Wonderland, and I had my hearing aid out, so you could actually see my hair. My hair was in a ponytail, everyone. And so a little boy approached me, and he took me, look, I'm deaf too. Like I was hearing it. It was so cool. And the mom came to me, and she approached me, very joyful, and she said, wow, like you just give my son a hope. And it was so in awe because I never had someone came to me like that, especially I had a parent. And the parent said, you're going to make a change in the world. I can definitely see it in you.
Oh,
And then I was like, what is she talking about? So I didn't even know. And so I went home. I thought about it a lot, what she meant. And so I said, what if I would actually change the world for the younger generation to let them know that there's someone out there that looks like them, someone that represents them. And so I did a lot of research and I found a lot of like great ideas, but at the same time I didn't have the income for it. I was very young. I was only 16, right? So I
okay.
was like 16 or 17 and I'm like, what am I gonna do with this? And so I said, I will like follow back this when I get more income and all that. And so I graduated university and so again, guys, to move into my second story. So this is the very first reason why I want to become an entrepreneur with the young boy and then now my professor who was also he was also hard of hearing. He wears a hearing aid as well, like myself, and I was in awe because I never met anyone that's way older than me that
Oh,
wears hearing aids, and it was like, oh my god, like he that too. I have to talk to him. So I spoke to him after class to have a great conversation about what um what else can I do? And so I told him the story with the little boy, and he's like, oh my god, yes, Kalina, you should also write a book and do that. He gave me so many ideas, everyone, and I was like, whoa, slow down. And so, like, he's like, no, the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because of you, right? So, young generation to let them know that they're not alone, there's people out there that look like me who going to give them hope. And so from there, when I graduated, that's where it led me to entrepreneurship, where I want to help other people as well. And it was very cool to see how I'm making changes with entrepreneurship. And I'm literally the second person in my family that does entrepreneurship. So it was very risky and scary at first, but over time I got used to it. So that's why I decided to become an entrepreneurship.
what strength do you feel like you draw being deaf and an entrepreneur?
So basically, I would say is I realized that I didn't have anybody that looks like me. Right, that's the very first thing. And that was something I struggled a lot, especially being an entrepreneur, like trying to not fit in, but trying to allow people to hear who I am for me, not just for my deafness. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that was something I was like, oh my God, like I could actually, it's possible chance it that I could change the world. So I think that where started me to realize that there's still hope to make changes. So yeah,
So you are, let's just kind of talk about, because we've established that you are deaf and that you are an entrepreneur. What are you doing in that space of entrepreneurship?
for sure. So I'm an author. For those who don't know, so I do have 4 books. Well, sorry, my
Wow, I
fourth
didn't know
book
you
is
had four. I know you had one. Wow. Okay.
four. Yeah. So my fourth one is gonna be launching in the next couple of months. So my very first book, it's a poetry book about me being deaf, daily basic. Just really educating people what it's like to be deaf and what it's like to be in my shoes, basically.
Mhm.
And number two, so the second and third and the fourth book is a collaboration book with everybody in the world where we talk about our businesses, ourselves, how are we growing our businesses. So the very last book is very unique that I'm currently writing about is my business, but also how did I overcome my disability and had a business owner. So this fourth book is very interesting because different people with different disabilities are actually coming in together and talk about their
Wow.
business. And so it's going to be like a resources book for people who are curious to learn about how to work my business. Who can I look up to? So it's very interesting.
Ex-
And also as well, I'm a coach as well. So I do coach young adults with disability, and also as well organization, nonprofit. So I am a coach all over. And third thing, I'm an international speaker. So I do speak about my deafness and educating people as well about the deaf community. What can they do better for us, and empowering youth. So that's what I do in my entrepreneur space.
So you have three whole jobs, Kellina. I feel like being deaf has not stopped you at all.
No, not at all.
That's that's good. That's awesome. Has being deaf presented challenges to you in your entrepreneurship journey?
It was a struggle at first because obviously rejection. So a lot of people didn't know how to accommodate me. A lot of people like, oh well, I can't communicate with her. So there was a lot of in the beginning because I had to learn how to present myself differently. I would say, I feel like as someone who's disabled, as a deaf person, we have to figure out what it is that we can attract our clients or potential partners or etc. And so it was very difficult in the beginning because I didn't want to be someone who I'm not, right? So
Mhm.
I am very honest with myself. And so it was a lot of learning curve for me to accept who I am and based in that rejection. So for me to really accept that, I learned that not everybody is meant to be in my space. And that's something I had to learn the hard way when
Mhm.
I started the entrepreneur journey. So eventually, over time, I got used to it, and I had to learn to consistently advocate for myself, to teaching people, and really try to find the right people to work with. So
How are you able to turn your ideas into an actual business? You are a coach, you're an author, you are a speaker. Those ideas started within you first. How did you go from the idea phase to the actualization implementation phase?
I would say I did baby steps. So I did not watch everyone. I did not watch. So I know a lot of people like, how do you do everything all at once? And I'm like, I didn't. So what I did was I pushed an idea. I gave it 3 to 6 months to put an action into it before I jump into the next thing I'm looking for. So, for example, the very first thing I did before my company, I just started to go on different podcasts because I knew that's the quickest way to get my message out there, connect with people. So, what I did was I actually went to a lot of networking events, actually. And then I asked people, how do they get on podcasts? And then some people recommend me different people. And so that's really how I put into action with through that by showing up all the time, going to different networking events, and also to never stop connecting with people and
Mhm.
never stop learning basically. So that's how I put my idea into action. And number two, I realized is that you have to face it. You have to take risks. And that's something I always have to remind myself. Take the risk, take the risk. You never know what's gonna come around again. And also as well, it's all about the mindset as well, not giving up on yourself. So I feel like a lot of time when people put into things into action, they're like, oh, this is not working, this is not working, what am I gonna do? So they get
Mhm.
overwhelmed. Like for me, I never really got overwhelmed because I knew that it's going to take some time to get there. So I took baby steps in order for me to get there. So that's really how I turn my idea into reality. It's really taking a step and taking my time and really understand what is it I can do better. So that's how I do that. So
How do you ensure clear communication between yourself and your clients, especially if they are hearing clients?
so I do over the Zoom or Google Meet. I'm pretty sure everybody used it. So I always before I do the communication style, I always ask every client and every person how do they communicate. Are you good communicating through the Zoom call, or do you need Google Meet? So I ask them different questions,
Okay.
and before I even hop on. So it's all about asking questions.
And is that via email, via text? How are you asking those questions before you hop on to Zoom?
Definitely email. Even messages as well. I have people message me on Instagram, LinkedIn messages. So that's how I act. Yeah.
Do you have to always like acknowledge or let your clients know I'm deaf before you start working with them or before the possibility?
No, because my brand name is Deaf Queen Boss, so people will know off the bat that oh
Yes.
she's hard of hearing, she's deaf. We gotta accommodate her. There's different things we have to do. So no, I never have to really do that. So I'm
Mhm.
grateful that people did their research before reaching out to me because
Right.
that's where my platform is all there. So I never really had to do that.
How do you, and I know you said that, you were doing, and you still are doing podcasts and networking. Um, but how do you continue to build those connections with other entrepreneurs or other people in business, whether deaf or hearing? How does that continue?
So I always follow up. That's number one. I always follow up, check in how they're doing, if they need any references. I build relationship with a lot of people. I know some people may be like, Colleen, I'm so tired to build a relationship. I understand that, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is by supporting them through social media. Simple like, simple repost, engaging with their posts. So something simple that way, so that way they know that you're actually trying to support them. Cause it's always a win-win, right? When you're trying to build a relationship with people. So that's really how I create my relationship with people, just letting them know, following up with them. And also too, some people don't know this, but I keep a spreadsheet in my on my iPad to make sure that I follow up with different people because you never know what's gonna happen, right? So that's how I do it. So some people think I'm crazy for that, but I tell people, hey, I mean, like I value relationship more than anything because you never know what tomorrow's gonna bring you.
Absolutely. Do you have a cutoff on the follow up? Okay, I followed up with this person twice. I'm following them on IG. I've interacted with their post, and you still haven't gotten like a return on your investment.
Of course, 100%. I think we all, right? For me, I would say after second try and I don't hear from them, then I cut it off.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so let's talk about like your business operations and growing your business. What systems, and of course, you said you use spreadsheets, but what other systems or tools have been most helpful for you in growing your business?
Automate. Um, for me, I would say automation. So like
Mhm.
Google Calendar, it definitely helped me a lot.
Okay.
Calendar link, 100%, because you can just send the link to people and people can just book the call and then boom, done.
Yeah.
It's on your calendar. So I would say definitely have something that's automatic for you so that way you're not always in your business. And number two, I already talked about spreadsheet. Always making sure that you also have something pen and paper as well, so that way you can remind yourself. Um, what else? I also phone reminder too. I will
Mhm.
never forget that. So I'm sure some of us have a phone reminder on our phone to remind us stuff. So that's a good way for me too. So that's how I run my business. It's not that too crazy, but
Mhm.
yeah, it is a
It
little
works for
crazy.
you.
Yeah, exactly. It's what works for you, and also as well. Like every weekend, it's my time off. Like I'm not near my emails. I'm not answering any business phone calls or any business emails or etc. I don't do that on weekends because I promised myself that I'm gonna prioritize my self care on weekends. And usually most of the time, every Sunday, that's when I actually go into my email, make sure I check in it, make sure I didn't miss anything, because sometimes I do miss something because there's so many emails. So,
Mm.
yeah.
How long did it take you to get to that space? Because so many people have
Yeah.
this real fear of missing out. If I don't respond to every, email or every text, even on the weekends, even on holidays, they're still working. It's like they can't detach themselves.
So, I think a question. Someone asked me that not too long ago. They're like, oh, what if I missed the opportunity? I said, opportunity will always come. It's not the end of the world. um, it happened, it happened. But at the same time, you have to take care of yourself at the end of the day. Because if you don't take care of yourself, your business is not going to go well. So that's something I always tell people. It's like, oh wow, there's always going to be next opportunity. You never know what's going to come across. And also as well, you need to give yourself a break too. Like we're not robots, I keep telling
Right.
people we're not robots. Like it is what it is. We missed it, you missed it. But do not put so much stress on yourself because of that one opportunity you missed.
Right, right. Do you feel like you have had to maybe intentionally or unintentionally train people that you've been working with to be in a business relationship with you?
So yes and no. There's some people want to be a business person and some people no. They just want to focus on the mental health. It's understandable. The ones that are interested in business, they haven't even started yet, but they just want me to give them an idea how can I support them. So just the
Okay.
basic stuff, but nothing too intense like grow in their business yet.
How do you market and brand your business?
So through podcasts, that's number one. My speaking engagement, social media, my book. Um, so that's how I market my brand and my business. It's nothing too complicated because it's something simple for me. I know some people go crazy with like Google ad and this ad. Like no, I love organic strategy because it's could it attract the right people. You don't want to attract the wrong people, and it's such a waste of your time. And you want to make sure you value your time, especially when you are reaching out to other people, especially when people are reaching out to you. You don't want to waste your time and be like, why did I waste my time to do this waste of 30 minutes of my time or something like that,
Yes.
right? So for me, yeah, organic all the way. I tell people do organic because there's so much like scammers out there nowadays and people are not being cautious like who they meet nowadays. It's like
Hmm.
be careful because people can hop on a call with you for free for 20 minutes and they take what you said and then put it into something else and you don't
Yes.
know. And then you're like, wow, I give my free time for you to do that. So I tell people just be cautious. So that's why I'm very cautious with how I market myself.
What advice would you give someone who's just starting out in an entrepreneurship journey? Like, as far as marketing and branding, what do you think should be the first thing that they do?
Go read a book about marketing. Seriously, that's the very first thing I tell everybody. Go get a book, read it, learn, and then hire a mentor who can help
Okay.
you and who can guide you. Then you can go ahead and start the business. I feel like when you start the business and then you have no idea what you're doing, you're wasting your
Hmm.
time.
Yes,
Go read a book about marketing strategy, anything, because marketing is number one for everything,
it is. It
right? So
is.
if you don't have a vision of how your marketing is gonna look like, why did you start the business first thing before you learned about marketing?
Yeah.
That should be opposite, and that's what a lot of people. I actually did it. I'm not gonna lie to anybody. Like I opened my business without even knowledge in like marketing. I'm like, I should have just learned about marketing before I even opened my company. So
Right.
I learned it the hard way slowly on down the road. But definitely read a book about marketing. Hire like a marketing mentor who can teach you the basic and teach you about SEO, and such. So definitely look into marketing books 100%. That's the very first thing I tell someone to do.
Okay, so let's talk about money. I feel like people never want to talk about money in business, but it's like one of the major reasons, not the only reason, but
Right.
one of the major reasons people get into business.
Yeah.
How did you know or figure out how to charge for your services and your products? So products, your book, obviously.
So what I do is I look at my competitor. That's the very first thing, right? You want to make sure you stand out of your competitor. So that's what I did. So I looked at my competitor. I looked at how much they charge. I charge a little less than they do because I do want to stand out, right? So if you charge more of your competitor, you're more likely you're gonna be like your competitor's gonna be here, and you're gonna be like here
Right.
because you charge too high. You
Mhm.
want to be here. So I know some people charge the same amount as the competitor. I tell people don't really do that. Um, I wish they charge a little bit less to price their stuff. And number two, for my coaching business and everything, I look at what it is I'm supporting and how am I bringing value, right? And then I look at my competitor again, see how much they charge. Some charge a lot of money, some charge too much. However, before I even charged anything, what I did, especially my book and my coaching business, I actually did a survey. I actually reached out to people and I said, how much are you willing to spend on a book, a
Wow.
coach, and everything? I had, again, because my social media, I have a lot of following. So I asked a lot of people on my following and they gave me a good amount. I had like 20 people responded and they told me how much they were able to afford it. And I was like, yes, now I'm good to go. Now I put it into action. So that's how normally how I will price my stuff. So,
And I also think, Kellina, with the pricing, like if your competitor has been doing it longer and they
mm-hmm.
have more experience,
Exactly.
then you definitely don't want to price yourself higher or the same because as a consumer, I'm going to go with the person that's been doing it longer, that has more experience in it, you know.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes,
I
yes.
feel like a lot of people need to stop overthinking too much about get rich fast with the pricing. So I know somebody wanted, I think I was watching something on YouTube and the guy was like, yeah, I tried like $10,000 and 10,000 for, I don't know, something. And then he realized that it would not make an impact. So he had to change his whole pricing all over again. And then he realized what was going on. So do not think too much about get quick rich or get rich quick or whatever the term is.
Mhm.
But don't overthink too much about the pricing, especially if you're trying to become rich.
Yeah. Yes.
Especially in business. Like if you're starting a business, please start slow. Like trust me when I tell you, you do not want any government coming after you because you took so much loan and you so much like you don't want that. And I'm telling a lot of people, please just start organic first thing, see what's gonna happen, give it a shot. If it doesn't work, try and see if you can hire someone. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be $5,000 coach. I know people spend ridiculous money on coaching and a mentor, and I said no. Like it's just ridiculous. Like there's people that really, really struggling and need support and need help.
Right, right. And also, I'll say this last thing, then we'll move on to the next question. But price yourself, I feel like, in a way that allows you to grow, to like
Exactly.
increase your pricing, in the next year or 2 years or 3 years. Because sometimes people, like the guy you were talking about on YouTube, you start out at $10,000. Like, where can you go from there?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so how has for you being deaf influenced your creative process?
It taught me a lot of ways to communicate. I think that's number one because like communication is super key for me.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in my deaf community, communication is everything. So I felt like the idea that I would come up with is just kind of making me more creative and kind of giving me so much other ideas. One time I was thinking about creating an app. One time, and then I was like, wait, I can't create an app because the app is super competitive in Canada, so it's very competitive. And I
Okay.
was like, okay, never mind. And so it makes me come up with so many ideas and cool ways to start a business, and just really like obviously it helped me to learn about different opportunities out there that I did not know. So this is why, you know, I love being deaf because I get so many opportunities, and I have people reach out to me about different things. So yeah, so it's really good.
I don't know, and of course, I'm not in the deaf community. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say, I love being deaf.
Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah,
Wow.
I do. That's why I
That,
called. That's why everybody called me the Deaf Queen Boss. So that's
yeah,
my brand.
you know what? I'm seeing it. Like the more I speak to you, the more I learn about you. I am seeing why you. I mean, not that you just call yourself the deaf boss queen, or no, it's the deaf queen boss.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but you are actually living that title as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it.
Do you have any specific systems in place or tools in place that cater directly to the deaf community?
Um, like, what do you mean by system place? Like,
I don't know. Do you have anything specifically that is just for the deaf community? Maybe that's some kind of automation or a specific tool that you use just for the deaf community. I mean, clearly you can read, so that's not that's not like
so
as I'm asking this question, like Crystal, clearly they can read. So
yeah, so it really depends on the person. I don't want people to think, oh, like that person needs this and that.
hmm
Everybody tool or what they're looking for is very different.
okay,
So for me, as a deaf person, gosh, hard of hearing person, for me, I just need a closed caption, right? Versus
okay,
someone who is completely deaf, who does sign language but doesn't speak, they will need an interpreter. So I just discovered a new app where it allowed me to have the conversation with a client with an interpreter instead of having the client to go look for an interpreter instead of me looking for an interpreter. So
what
it's an
app
app.
is that?
It's called Convo Now Communication.
Okay.
So it's really cool. So I actually posted on LinkedIn, and so when you download the app, right away there's an interpreter on the call, and a friend of mine texted because she actually signed. She doesn't talk, so I talk. She does. So I told her, hey, like the app organization actually reached out to me to do a test on it. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I called her up and I'm like, hey, go, let's go do this test. And she's like, okay, no problem. So we went, and it was so cool. And I was like, you can sign very well. And I was talking. So it was very cool. So she was teaching me a lot of things, and so my sign is slowly getting back. For those who probably just wondering, does she does sign language a little bit? It's coming.
hmm
Um, so that's the one way I communicate with strictly with the people, the interpreter on the app.
Okay, that's good. That is really good. That's an amazing app.
It is.
Wow. Okay, so what advice would you give a youth, by youth I'm guessing like 18 and up,
Yes.
um that's interested in starting or getting into the entrepreneurship journey, but they have a disability, whether that's being deaf or something else?
I will tell them it to look for a community, like I always say, and see if there's like a community center by the house that they can reach out to, that they can like go and have a conversation with a counselor or worker that's in the community.
Mhm.
Or number two, reach out to someone on social media because I know a lot of youth love social media.
They do.
So I would say definitely reach out to someone on social media who you can actually ask questions and see if you can hop on a free call. And when I tell a lot of youth that, there will be a free call. So do not think about you do need to spend a lot of money.
Yes.
And as well, again, reading books. I know a lot of you do not like reading books, but a lot of you youth need to go read a book. Okay? So
You sound like a
Definitely.
whole auntie when you said that. Go read a book.
Yes. Go read a book about business, marketing, and entrepreneurship. Like, go get it. Because you will need it. And that there's so much value and so much knowledge in a book, you will be surprised how much you're going to get out of the book.
Okay. What accomplishment are you most proud of as an entrepreneur and why?
I'm most proud of like so many things I did. I do so many things to be honest. I'm most proud of is making so much impact in the community, especially for those who are not themselves and they're scared to come out,
Mhm.
especially being coming out of the comfort zone. So I'm most proud of helping people. And number two, my books. I'm most proud of writing all these books I wrote, in partnership with a lot of people, and really like connecting with other people as well, especially for myself. Because if you would tell me when I was younger that I was gonna be this, I would look at you laughing. Because I'd be like, there's no way I'm doing that. Like, I would have been like, no, thank you. So, yeah, my younger self would be very proud because, I just struggled a lot with my speech. I just struggled a lot with writing. And now that I'm an author, thinking about it, it's
A
like,
four-time author.
yeah, exactly. I probably would be like laughing at myself when I was younger. Like, there's no way this girl's an author. So, it just, I would say that's what I'm so proud of myself because I kept moving forward and never stopped, even though there's people out there that may not know how to accommodate me or who rejected me because I'm deaf. So,
Mhm. I wish you can get in touch with that mom and that little boy from the park so they
yeah,
could see you now.
I know, right? I know. When I was 16 or 17, it's so crazy, like, thinking about it. So, it's like, don't worry, guys, I'm still young, so.
Yeah, she's still very young, but just the fact that that mom saw this in you before you saw it in yourself.
Yes, yeah, I bet you. I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
Right, right. Okay, so how do you stay motivated? You are a multi hyphenated person. Yes, we're talking about business, but person. How do you stay motivated when facing challenges like perhaps exhaustion or just challenges that come up in business?
You need to have a strong why, and I feel like a lot of our, like you said before, we just get into business for the money, you
Mhm.
know? For me, I never got into business for money. I just got into the business to make an impact in the world, especially the stories I just told you guys about the little boy, my professor. I just realized there's so much more in life that I need to do for my community. And number two is my grandmother passed away during COVID. And so, because of my grandmother's um, passing, it really did impact me actually. A lot of people don't know. And my grandmother raised me as well, like a second mom. And, she always taught me a lesson about being a lion. You cannot stop and you cannot give up. And that was something I learned a lot down the way with my grandma was because my mom was in school, it was just me. And so it was just me and my grandma and my aunt. So like for me to witness that, my grandma used to bring me to work. And I'm like, grandma, why am I here? But I see my grandma hustle so much and because she's an immigrant. And she didn't understand the value of, investments and money and like businesses. So she didn't understand that. And so I know that because of my grandma's passing, the legacy I'm gonna carry on for the rest of my life, especially towards my cousins, my obviously my mom as well, my family, and so that's the reason why I keep moving forward in in my business. So I would never give up on my business because I do have a very strong why. Why am I doing it, and who am I impacting?
What is your grandmother's name?
My grandmother's name is Justa.
Oh, very beautiful name. Very
Thank you.
beautiful name. Okay. You have how long have you been an entrepreneur? Have you ever had a traditional job?
So yeah, so some people be surprised. I have a 9 to 5 still. So and I'm working on my business as well. So I work from home, so it's okay. So I'm good. So I had a nine to so while I was starting my business, I was actually working 3 jobs
What?
to fund my business. Yeah.
Wow. How do you do it all?
Well, I, I just drink energy drink. I just prioritize my time, and I would graduate in university. Like it was a lot. So I just drink a lot of energy drink, and I didn't have time for my friends for like a good 3 months straight. I didn't have any social life. I knew what I wanted to do in my life. I knew I had to sacrifice young in
Hmm.
order for me to be successful later.
Oh, okay. And that paid off, clearly. It
Yeah,
paid off.
it did, but my sleeping pattern is so up and down, so sadly.
Oh. Well, where I was going with that was, you've been an entrepreneur for a while now.
Three
What,
years actually. 3 years, going to 4 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
3, 4 years. Wow, that's so good. And you're so young. You've accomplished a lot. Like, that's the major accomplishment. That's what you should have said when I asked that question. That you've
Yes, I
accomplished so
accomplished a
much at
lot.
so
Yeah.
young.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot. Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy because I didn't even think about it. And I'm like, I don't really, I like people like they meet me. They're like, "How long have you been in the business?" And I'm like, "Oh, 4 years." They're like, "You accomplished so much in 4 years." I was like,
Right.
"Yeah."
Yeah. Yeah. I
Thank
need a
you.
clapper. This is the second time I've said this with you. I said it on my first podcast with you, and I'm saying it on the second podcast with you. I need a clapper machine when I talk to you, Miss Powell. So you've been in this space 3 to 4 years now. What is your intention in this space of entrepreneurship?
My intention is really just to impact people globally and let people know that they're not alone in this world. And this world is so hard now with the whole changes that's happening. And there's a lot of mental health that people are facing. People are not comfortable talking about it.
Mhm.
And so the whole point of me doing this is just really make an impact.
So, my final question for you, it's not business related, it's life related. For people who are listening to you that have a disability, whether that's being deaf or something else, what is your piece of advice that you can give to them to encourage them to just keep going?
I would say, quote, do not rush. Not every day is going to be a good day. There are going to be some days that are going to be bad days. But it's up to you how do you choose to live your life. Life is not a promise. Tomorrow you may be gone and you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So you do have to live life to the fullest.
And that's how we're going to end this podcast. That's how we going to end this podcast. Thank you so much. This is the second time you've been on. The first time you came on and you educated us about being deaf and dating, which is really the almost the same as just dating. Um,
Yeah.
and you've educated us about being deaf and being an entrepreneur. So again, thank you for educating and thank you for making my platform more inclusive. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me, though.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to my audience, you can get Kellina's podcast on YouTube Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.